Don't Eat Before Reading This by Anthony Bourdain. Good food, good eating. It's all about blood and organs, cruelty and decay. It's about sodium-loaded pork fat, stinky triple cream cheeses, the tender glands and distended livers of young animals. It's about danger, risking the dark bacterial forces of beef, chicken, cheese, and shellfish. Your first 207 Wellfleet oysters may transport you to a state of rapture, but your 208th may send you to a bed with the sweats, chills, and vomits. Gastronomy is the science of pain. Professional cooks belong to a secret society whose ancient rituals derive from the principles of stoicism in the face of humiliation, injury, fatigue, and the threat of illness. The members of a tight, well-greased kitchen staff are a lot like the submarine crew. Confined for most of their waking hours in hot, airless spaces and ruled by despotic leaders, they often acquire the characteristics of the poor saps, who were press-ganged into the royal navies of Napoleonic times. Superstitions and contempt for outsiders, and a loyalty to no flag but their own. A good deal has changed since Orwell's memoirs of the months he spent as a dishwasher in Down and Out in Paris and London. Gas ranges and exhaust fans have gone a long way towards increasing the lifespan of the working culinarian. Nowadays, most aspiring cooks come into the business because they want to. They have chosen this life, studied for it. Today's top chefs are like star athletes. They bounce from kitchen to kitchen, free agents in search of more money, more acclaim. I've been a chef in New York for more than 10 years, and for the decade before that, a dishwasher, a prep drone, a line cook, and a sous chef. I came into the business when cooks still smoked in the line and wore headbands. A few years ago, I wasn't surprised to hear rumors of a study of the nation's prison population, which reportedly found that the leading civilian occupation among inmates before they were put behind bars was cook. As most of us in the restaurant business know, there is a powerful strain of criminality in the industry, ranging from the dope-dealing busboy with beeper and cell phone to the restaurant owner who has 2 sets of accounting books. In fact, it was the unsavory side of professional cooking that attracted me to it in the first place. In the early 70s, I dropped out of college and transferred to the Culinary Institute of America. I wanted it all. The cuts and burns on hands and wrists, the ghoulish kitchen humor, the free food, the pilfered booze, the camaraderie that flourishes within rigid order and nerve-shattering chaos. I would climb the chain of command from mal carne, meaning bad meat or new guy, to chefdom, doing whatever it took until I ran my own kitchen and had my own crew of cutthroats, the culinary equivalent of the Wild Bunch. A year ago, my latest doomed mission, a high-profile restaurant in Times Square area, went out of business. The meat, fish, and produce purveyors got the news that they were going to take it in the neck for yet another ill-conceived enterprise. When customers called for reservations, they were informed by a pre-recorded announcement that our doors had closed. Fresh from that experience, I began thinking about becoming a traitor to my profession. Say it is a quiet Monday night and you have just checked your coat in that swanky Art Deco update to the Flatiron District, and you are looking to truck into thick slabs of peppered-crusted yellowfin tuna or 20-ounce cut of certified black Angus beef, well done. What are you in for? The fish specialty is reasonably priced, and the place got 2 stars in the Times. Why not go for it? If you like 4-day-old fish, be my guest. Here's how things usually work. The chef orders his seafood for the weekend on Thursday night, and it arrives on Friday morning. He's hoping to sell the bulk of it on Friday and Saturday nights when he knows that the restaurant will be busy, and he'd like to run out of it the last few orders by Sunday evening. Many fish purveyors don't deliver on Saturday, so the chances are that the Monday night tuna that you want has been kicking around the kitchen since Friday morning, under God knows what conditions. When a kitchen is in full swing, proper refrigeration is almost non-existent. What with the many openings of the refrigerator door as the cooks rummage frantically during the rush, mingling your tuna with the chicken, the lamb, or the beef. Even if the chef has ordered just the right amount of tuna for the weekend and has had to reorder it for a Monday delivery, The only safeguard against the seafood suppliers offloading junk is the presence of a vigilant chef who can make sure that the delivery is fresh from Sunday night's market. Generally speaking, the good stuff comes in on Tuesday. The seafood is fresh, the supply of prepared food is new, and the chef, presumably, has relaxed after his day off. Most chefs don't work Monday. Chefs prefer to cook for weekend customers rather than for weekenders, and they like to start the new week with their most creative dishes. In New York, locals dine during the week. Weekends are considered amateur nights for tourists, rubes, and the well-done ordered pre-theater hordes. The fish may be just as fresh on Friday, but it is on Tuesday that you've got the goodwill of the kitchen on your side. People who order their meat well done perform a valuable service for those of us in the business who are cost-conscious. They pay for the privilege of eating our garbage. In many kitchens, there is a time-honored practice called save for well done. When one of the cooks finds a particularly unlovely piece of steak, tough, riddled with nerve and connective tissue from the hip end of the loin, and maybe a little stinky from old age, he'll dangle it in the air and say, "Hey chef, what do you want me to do with this?" Now the chef has three options. He can tell the cook to throw the offending item into the trash, but that means a total loss. In the restaurant business, every item of cut, fabricated, or prepared food should earn at least 3 times the amount it originally cost, if the chef is going to make his correct food cost percentage. Or he can decide to serve that steak to the family, that is, the floor staff, though that, economically, is the same as throwing it out. But no, what he's going to do is repeat the mantra of cost-conscious chefs everywhere. Save it for well done. That way, he figures it, the Philistine who orders his food well done is not likely to notice the difference between food and flotsam. Then there are the people who brunch. The B word is dreaded by all dedicated cooks. We hate the smell and spatter of omelets. We despise hollandaise, home fries, and pathetic fruit garnishes, and all other cliché accompaniments designed to induce a credulous public to pay $12.95 for 2 eggs. Nothing demoralizes an aspiring escoffier faster than requiring him to cook egg white omelets or egg over easy with bacon. You can dress brunch up with all the focaccia, smoked salmon, and caviar in the world, but it is still breakfast. Even the more despised than brunch people are the vegetarians. Serious cooks regard these members of the dining public and their Hezbollah-like splinter factions, the vegans, as enemies of everything that's good and decent in the human spirit. To live life without veal or chicken stock, fish cheeks, sausages, cheese, or organ meats is treasonous. Like most other chefs I know, I'm amused when I hear people object to pork on non-religious grounds. Swine are filthy animals, they say. These people have obviously never visited a poultry farm. Chicken, America's favorite food, goes bad quickly. Handled carelessly, it infects other foods with salmonella, and it bores the hell out of chefs. It occupies its ubiquitous place on menus as an option for customers who can't decide what they want to eat. Most chefs believe that supermarket chickens in this country are slimy and tasteless compared to the European varieties. Pork, on the other hand, is cool. Farmers stopped feeding garbage to pigs decades ago, and even if you eat pork rare, you're more likely to win the lotto than to contract trichinosis. Pork tastes different depending on what you do with it, but chicken always tastes like chicken. Another much maligned food these days is butter. In the world of chefs, however, butter is everything. Even non-French restaurants, the Northern Italians, the New Americans, the ones where the chef brags about how he is getting away from butter and cream, throw butter around like crazy. In almost every restaurant worth patronizing, sauces are enriched with mellowing, emulsifying butter. Pastas are tightened with it. Meats and fish are seared with a mixture of butter and oil. Shallots and chicken are caramelized with butter. It is the first and last thing in almost every pan. The final hit is called the moindre herbier. In a good restaurant, what that all adds up to is that you could be putting away almost a stick of butter with every meal. If you are one of those people who cringes at the thought of strangers fondling your food, you shouldn't go out and eat. As the author and former chef Nicholas Freely notes in his definitive book, The Kitchen, the better the restaurant, the more your food has been prodded, poked, handled, and tasted. By the time a 3-star crew has finished carving and arranging your salad of monkfish with dried cherries and wild herb-infused nange into the Parthenon or the Space Needle, It has had dozens of sweaty fingers all over it. Gloves? You'll find a box of surgical gloves. In my kitchen, we call that the anal research gloves, over every station on the line for the benefit of the health inspector. But does anyone actually use them? Yes, a cook will slip on a pair every now and then, especially when he is handling something with a lingering odor like salmon. But during the hours of service, gloves are clumsy and dangerous. When you're using your hands constantly, latex will make you drop things, and that is the last thing you want to do. Finding a hair in your food will make anyone gag, but just about the only place you'll see anyone in the kitchen wearing a hat or a hairnet is Blimpie. For most chefs, wearing anything on their head, especially one of those picturesque paper torques they are often referred to as coffee filters, is a nuisance. They dissolve when you sweat, bump into the range hood, and burst into flame. The fact is that most good kitchens are far less septic than your kitchen at home. I run a scrupulously clean, orderly restaurant kitchen where food is rotated and handled and stored very conscientiously. But if the city's Department of Health or EPA decided to enforce every aspect of its code, some of us would be out on the streets. Recently there was a news report about the practice of recycling bread. By means of a hidden camera in a restaurant, the reporter was horrified to see returned bread being sent right back out onto the floor. This to me wasn't news. The reuse of bread has been an open secret and a fairly standard practice in the industry for years. It makes more sense to worry about whatever happens to the leftover table butter. Many restaurants recycle it for hollandaise. What do I like to eat after hours? Strange things. Oysters are my favorite, especially at 3 in the morning, in the company of my crew. Focaccia pizza, or ribald cheese, and white truffle oil is good, especially at La Madre on a summer afternoon in the outdoor patio. Frozen vodka at Siberia Bar is also good, particularly if a cook from one of the big hotels shows up with beluga. At Indigo and 10th Street, I love the mushroom strudel and the daub of beef. At my own place, I love a spicy bourdon noir with squirts blood in your mouth. The braised fennel the way my sous chef makes it, scraped from a duck confit, and fresh cockles steamed with greasy Portuguese sausage. I love the sheer weirdness of the kitchen life, the dreamers, the crackpots, the refugees, the sociopaths with whom I continue to work, the ever-present smell of roasting bones, searing fish, simmering liquids, and the noise and clatter, the hiss and spray, the flames, the smoke, and the steam. Admittedly, it's a life that grinds you down. Most of us who live and operate in the culinary underworld are in some fundamental way dysfunctional. We've all chosen to turn our backs on the 9 to 5, on ever having a Friday or Saturday night off, of ever having a normal relationship with a non-cook. Being a chef is a lot like being an air traffic controller. You are constantly dealing with the threat of disaster. You've got to be a mom and a dad, drill sergeant, detective, psychiatrist, and priest to a crew of opportunistic, mercenary hooligans, whom you must protect from the nefarious and often foolish strategies of owners. Year after year, cooks contend with the bounced paycheck, irate purveyors, desperate owners looking for the masterstroke that will cure their restaurant's ills. Live cabaret, free shrimp, New Orleans brunch. In America, the professional kitchen is the last refuge of the misfit. It is a place for people with bad pasts to find a new family. It is a haven for foreigners, Ecuadorians, Mexicans, Chinese, Senegalese, Egyptians, Poles. In New York, the main linguistic spice is Spanish. Since we work in close quarters, and so many blunt, sharp objects are at hand, you'd think that cooks would kill one another with regularity. I've seen guys duking it out in the waiter's station over who gets the table of 6. I've seen a chef clamp his teeth on a waiter's nose. I've seen plates thrown. I've thrown some myself. But I've never heard of a cook jamming a boning knife into another cook's ribs or braining him with a meat cleaver. Line cooking, well done, is a dance, a high-speed, Balanchian collaboration. I used to be a terror toward my floor staff, particularly in the final months of my last restaurant, but not anymore. Recently my career has taken an eerily appropriate turn. I'm the chef de cuisine of a much-loved old French bistro where the customers eat their meat rare, vegetarians are scarce, and every part of the animal, hooves, snout, cheek, skin, and organs, is avidly and appreciatively prepared and consumed. Cassol, pig's feet, tripe, and chartreuse sell like crazy. We thicken many sauces with foie gras and pork blood, and proudly hurl around spoonfuls of duck fat and butter and thick hunks of country bacon. I made a traditional French pot au feu a few weeks ago, and some of my French colleagues, hardened veterans of the business all, came into my kitchen to watch the first order go out. And they gazed upon the intimidating heap of short ribs, oxtail, beef shoulder, cabbage, turnips, carrots, and potatoes. The expression on their faces was those of a religious supplicant. I have come home.